Jesus was killed, crucified, bloody, gory, undeniably dead, put in a carved-out grave, sealed up with a giant rock, and then guarded by Roman soldiers. 3 days later, his body went missing, mysteriously. The students of Jesus ran around saying, "He rose from the dead. Jesus is alive. We spoke with him. He is God. Follow us." And thus, Christianity was born. 2,000 years later, here we are, just about a third of the world's population claiming to be Christian and therefore proclaiming that they also believe that Jesus rose from the dead all those years ago. But why? Haven't we gotten past those silly fables? Maybe the disciples stole Jesus' body so they could make up Christianity and become rich and famous or something. Or maybe the disciples were mistaken. They hallucinated talking to Jesus. So why go with the least obvious answer, which is Jesus actually rose from the dead, rather than one of these possibilities? That is a good question. And the answer is because when you really dig into the information we have and closely analyze it, it does seem like the most likely answer is Jesus actually rose from the dead. So let's do that. Let's go through the possible options and see for yourself. I'm not expecting this to automatically change your mind or anything if you're not a Christian. Like, oh, okay, Jesus did rise from the dead. Oh, I'm a Christian now. But hey, this is what I found. I found this very convincing. So let me know what you think. My name is Blue. Thank you for joining me. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to take you through 3 possible things that could have happened 2,000 years ago. The apostles were the ones who claimed that Jesus rose from the dead and started Christianity. So one of these 3 things has to be true. Either 1, the apostles were lying. They knew full well Jesus was still dead. They stole his body, hid it somewhere, and then lied about having conversations with the live Jesus. Or 2, the apostles were mistaken. They sincerely believed that Jesus rose from the dead and that they had conversations with him, but they hallucinated it and something else happened to Jesus' body, stolen by the government, eaten by animals, who knows. Or 3, the apostles are correct. Jesus did come back from the dead, he did talk to the apostles, and he did ascend into the sky with the promise of returning one day. One of those 3 things has to be true, so let's go down the line and analyze them to try to find out which one is correct. Possibility 1, the apostles were lying. So in this scenario, the followers/students of Jesus said, what if we stole Jesus' body and hid it somewhere, started a religion? That sounds like a great idea. Everyone will think he rose from the dead, and then we get rich and famous for being the cool ones who knew about it and told everybody. I mean, this seems like a possible possibility for sure. Just look at somebody like Muhammad. No disrespect to my Muslim friends. Love you, glad you're here. But whether or not Muhammad was telling the truth or not about being a prophet of God, you can't deny that he went from a nobody to being a very high up somebody after writing the Quran. He gained status, he gained fame and respect. You know, people get things for starting religions. Just look at any cult. Cults are built for political power, for money, for control. Who's to say Christianity is no different? Maybe the apostles constructed Christianity for their own personal gain. It sounds possible. It really, really does. But in the end, they didn't get any personal gain from this. In fact, they lost a lot. They lost their freedoms, they lost respect, and they lost their lives in the end. The apostles didn't get any of those personal gain, desirable things. They were hated for starting Christianity, hated. The Apostle Paul wrote about some of his struggles that he experienced. He was one of the first Christian leaders and church builders. Here's what he wrote about his life. I am out of my mind to talk like this. I am more. I have worked much harder, been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, and been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I have been constantly on the move. I have been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from fellow Jews, in danger from Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false believers. I have labored and toiled. I have often gone without sleep. I have known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I have been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face daily the pressure of my concern for all the Christians." Wow, that was really long. I'm sorry for reading the whole thing, but that was the norm for Christians in those days. They had it really, really, really tough. And do you really think that the apostles would have gone through all of that, would have been beat and hurt and whipped and killed, as many of them were? Many of them were killed for this. Do you really think they would have gone through that if they had stolen Jesus' body and lied about him coming back to life? Anyone will die for a religion that they believe is true. No one dies for a religion that they know is false. Now, the apostles still could have been mistaken about Jesus' resurrection, but hands down, they believed it. They wouldn't have gone through that if they didn't believe that Jesus rose from the dead. So they were not lying. We cross this off. This is no longer a possibility. It's crushed. Possibility 2, the apostles were mistaken. Sadly, little sad martyrs. So just because they sincerely believed that Jesus rose from the dead doesn't necessarily mean Jesus rose from the dead. Obviously, I mean, people are mistaken every day. It's a very common occurrence. But in this scenario where the apostles are just mistaken, there's still two loose ends that we need to talk about. One, what happened to Jesus' body? We'll talk about that one in a bit. And two, a group of over 500 people and the apostles saw Jesus after he rose. What happened there? They couldn't have been hallucinating it. Only one person hallucinates. If you saw pink elephants, you were hallucinating pink elephants. Even if I was with you, I'm not going to see them. So what? 500 people hallucinated the same thing at the same time? Eh, eh. You could maybe say that someone was pretending to be Jesus and fooled them all, but what about the apostles? They were also there. The apostles were really, really close with Jesus. They were his students. They traveled together. They ate together. They worked together. They were really close. They were together every single day. You think that they would be fooled by an imposter Jesus? Like think of someone who you know really, really well, who you've been with for a long time. If someone else comes up to you disguises them, you're going to be able to see through the disguise, right? Also, the apostles said that they saw Jesus float into the sky and that Jesus told them that he would return one day. How could they have all hallucinated the same thing? It wasn't an imposter. They could have been lying, but we already know the apostles weren't lying. That we already discussed that in possibility 1. So what happened there? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. The next loose end in this scenario where the apostles are just mistaken about Jesus is what happened to Jesus' body. So here's the scene. Jesus is put in this little cave, this little grave, and it is sealed up with this huge rock, is rolled into a little ditch, a little cranny in front of the door. It's sealed up real good, and then it is guarded by Roman soldiers, at least 2, probably more. Few days later, a group of women, they come, they find the stone is gone, and the grave is empty. They tell the apostles come, they see the empty grave. We know they're not lying about seeing the empty grave because we know they're not lying. We already discussed that in possibility 1. So, what happened to Jesus' body? 1, eaten by animals. No way. That's silly. There's a huge rock. So how would that have been moved by animals? There's guards. If the animals somehow killed the guards, there'd be blood everywhere. There'd be signs of it. People would be able to know what happened, that animals came. Animals did not get Jesus' body. Okay, 2. Somebody came and they stole Jesus' body. Who? It couldn't have been the Jews. The Jews are the ones who demanded that Jesus be killed. They don't want the Christian movement. They want nothing to do with it. They are glad he's gone, and they do not want him back. They want to avoid the Christian movement, and hiding the body would obviously start the Christian movement. So it couldn't have been the Jews that stole Jesus' body. They don't want that. They want him to stay in the grave. It couldn't have been the apostles, the followers of Jesus, because again, they're not lying. We discussed that in possibility 1. What about the government? Maybe the government stole Jesus' body. They had the power. They had the Roman soldiers. Maybe they were pretending to guard, but really were ordered to steal Jesus' body. This idea is at least possible. The government did have the means to be able to take Jesus' body, but the question is, why would they do that? The Christian movement was a huge thorn in their side. Like, it was causing problems left and right. It was causing conflict. They didn't like that. They didn't want that. They want to remain in control. So if they had Jesus' body, don't you think they would have been like, hey, psst, see this? Bam, here's your God. He's dead. But they didn't do that. Why? Because they didn't have Jesus' body. Also, Roman governor Pontius Pilate, he's the one who ordered that Jesus be crucified. The reason why he did this is because people said any friend of Jesus is an enemy to Caesar. Caesar's the big boy king on top. If Pontius Pilate was seen as disloyal to Caesar, that's a death sentence. He did not want to be seen as disloyal to Caesar, so he had to order Jesus' death. And if there was any doubt that Jesus was not killed, then he'd be in trouble. So there's no way he would have ordered that Jesus' body be hidden away somewhere. That would hurt him. That would put his life in jeopardy. So again, the government didn't take Jesus' body. It just doesn't make any sense. So Jesus' body was not stolen. Who would have stolen it? How would they have stolen it? And why would they have stolen it? There's no answer to those questions because his body wasn't stolen. So we can cross out possibility out and oh, would you look at that? There's only one more possibility left. The final possibility number 3, the apostles were correct. In this scenario, God exists. If God exists, then something like this, like someone coming back from the dead, is completely possible. Jesus rose from the dead, and Jesus is God. He did, in fact, appear to 500 people. He did have conversations with the apostles, and he did ascend into the sky, and he did promise that he would return one day. Seems crazy and outlandish, but is it really that crazy? Most people I talk to admit that there's at least a possibility that a God exists. And if there's a possibility that God exists, then there's a possibility that God became human, died, rose from the dead, and gave us the Bible so we can know about it. I mean, this is history. We can look at it, we can look through it, we can analyze what we have and see what makes the most sense logically. And to me, I mean, I just took you through everything that I've been through. This makes the most logical sense that God exists and Jesus is God and he did come back from the dead. I mean, that's why I'm a Christian, or at least one of the reasons. So, yeah. And I'm at the 14-minute mark right now. This video is way too long. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll have to make a part 2 or something because I have more evidence. I have more evidence to show you of why Jesus is God. But so yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Put your counter arguments in the comments or feel free to DM me on Instagram if you want to talk. Love you all. Thank you so much for the support. It's honestly kind of stressing me out how fast I'm gaining an audience. I'm a little scared girl, so hi. Anyway, okay, that's it. That's the end of the video. Bye. Have a good day. Love you.